Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are covering one of the most dangerous and closely watched developments in the Middle East in recent years. Reports indicate that Iran has launched ballistic missiles toward Israel, triggering sirens across multiple areas and activating air defense systems within seconds. As alerts sounded and defenses engaged, world powers rushed into emergency consultations, underscoring how serious this moment is. The key question now is whether this represents another limited escalation in a long-running shadow conflict, or the point at which the region risks sliding into a broader and far more destructive war. This is not just another breaking news headline. It is a moment that reflects years of tension, indirect confrontation, and strategic signaling finally reaching a critical threshold. According to early reports, the missile launches immediately placed Israeli forces on high alert. Civilian warning systems were activated, air defense batteries moved into full operational mode, and military command centers shifted into crisis posture. At the same time, diplomatic channels around the world lit up as governments sought clarity and attempted to prevent further escalation. Even as official statements continue to evolve, the situation itself highlights just how fragile regional stability has become. Iran and Israel have spent decades avoiding direct, sustained confrontation, instead relying on proxies, covert operations, cyber activity, and strategic messaging. A ballistic missile launch, even if limited or intercepted, signals a major shift in posture that cannot be ignored. To understand why this matters so much, it is important to understand what ballistic missiles represent in modern warfare. Ballistic missiles are long-range weapons that travel high into the atmosphere before descending rapidly toward their targets at extreme speeds. Unlike drones or short-range rockets, they leave very little time for detection, decision-making, and interception. This speed and trajectory make them inherently destabilizing, especially in regions where warning times are already short. Iran has spent decades developing its ballistic missile program, viewing it as a core pillar of its national defense and deterrence strategy. Facing heavy sanctions and lacking a modern air force comparable to its adversaries, missiles offer Iran a way to project power, signal resolve, and deter attacks without relying on aircraft. For Israel, ballistic missiles are considered an existential threat. The country's small geographic size and dense population mean that even a limited strike carries enormous psychological and strategic weight. This is why Israel has invested heavily in a multi-layered air defense network designed to intercept threats at different altitudes and ranges. These systems are supported by advanced radar, intelligence sharing, and close coordination with allied forces. When reports emerge of ballistic missile launches, the stakes immediately rise beyond routine exchanges. These weapons are not symbolic gestures. They are strategic tools designed to alter calculations, test defenses, and send messages not just to adversaries, but also to allies and global powers. Iran's motivations behind such launches are rarely simple or impulsive. Tehran often frames its actions as defensive responses to perceived threats, regional developments, or attacks on its interests and allies. From Iran's perspective, missile capability is meant to deter strikes on its territory and to demonstrate that pressure and isolation have not weakened its strategic reach. Launching missiles toward Israel allows Iran to signal capability and resolve without immediately committing ground forces or engaging in sustained combat. It also plays to domestic audiences by projecting strength during periods of economic hardship and political pressure. At the same time, Iran has historically shown a preference for controlled escalation rather than open war, carefully calibrating its actions to avoid triggering overwhelming retaliation. This balancing act is central to understanding the current moment. Iranian leaders are aware that a full-scale conflict with Israel could rapidly draw in the United States and destabilize the entire region. As a result, missile launches are often intended as messages rather than final moves. They test reactions, measure responses, and remind adversaries of capabilities. International responses, particularly from Washington, are closely analyzed by Iranian planners. The goal is leverage, not chaos. Whether this incident remains a symbolic demonstration or becomes a turning point depends largely on how Israel and its allies respond in the coming hours and days.